So first I would like to invoke the presence of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo on this particular auspicious day that we are going to have on the birth of 175th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo, and at the same time 75 years of India's independence. In fact, Sri Aurobindo's birthday also corresponds and connected with India's independence. So we will have just few seconds of silence. And good morning for this morning conversation, our presence and our contribution, our assessment of life, what that brought us in Auroville after long years of our continuous involvement in so-called the yoga or the yoga of the Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. In fact, in my life, what happened that I was from early age of life little bit a person who used to have some abstract thinking, what is life? Even in my classrooms, teachers used to ask, what is your goal in life? Then I normally used to say, someone I want to be doctor, someone want to be engineer, someone to be a politician. But normally I used to say that I don't know who am I. Teacher used to laugh also those days, but this was my evening. Whenever evening and morning comes, I used to feel in the silence of the evening and morning that what is the purpose of coming here upon earth. So this inspired me. Then when I joined Delhi University, after my post-graduation, I did my MPhil. There I had to put dissertation also, and there I took dissertation as a meditation, a way of life. That was also interesting. My friend asked me why you are so much interested in meditation and concentration. Then I just said that I had my own interest and I used to take yoga as a hobby or fun. This inspired me because in my college time, I remember I had some back pain and I was going through some treatment in Patel chest we had in our campus, but it was not working. So I went to some place in some bookshop, and in the bookshop someone gave me a book for free that was Jain Yoga, J-A-I-N, Jain Yoga. Perhaps it was by Acharya Tulsi. There it was in course of my reading that book, I found that if you have a pain somewhere in the body, you concentrate on a space or the place of the part of the body where it is pain, and you concentrate, it will go. So I put my concentration, try to put my concentration. A week or two after, I find there was no pain. So I think, oh, this is good that this concentration or one pointedness at a place, it cures something or it has a power. So this convinced me. Then in latter part of my years, I came across the book of Vivekananda Yoga, Raja Yoga, that I find interesting. I started reading, I started practicing Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga, meditation, all that together. But this again, I didn't know that where it is taking me and where it will take me, because in young college life of around 25, our opportunities of life, have a worldly life, have a successful job, these are before us. But most of the time I used to get involved in concentration, in meditation, reading spiritual books. By that time, I was not known to the mother and Sri Aurobindo. So when I took up the subject, my MPhil is finished, then I took up the subject for Ph.D. Then 2 weeks time was given by our guide to search and find out a subject. You go to the library and find a subject. Then again I was wondering, I took 1 month. Then finally I selected the topic meditation, a way to enlightenment. Although the guide was not happy. They said, what you are going to do after this in academic life, in university, you don't have anything that you can teach. It is not introduced in India so far. But I said, I have interest, sir, so I have my own interest and I cannot tell my friends and my family people that I want to go for my inner journey. And it will look very strange. They will think I am going mad. So to cover up my own interest, inner journey or self-study, I am just covering this because when I go somewhere and I am doing doctorate, normally hardly people ask on what is your subject. And even if they ask subject, I say this is the subject. So my inner journey, my inner interest, my inner being searching for itself, I wanted to cover it through outer skin of this topic. It was my only goal. That is why even after I did my doctorate, I got my degree in 1987, my search still continued. Not that after my degree I went for a job. I was teaching also some places. So in fact, 1983, when I took this subject of meditation, a way to enlightenment, that was a very year that changed my life. In fact, in lunchtime, I remember also the day and date, that was the 9th March, 1983, that I came after lunch. I was living in a Central Institute of Education hostel that was next to Miranda House, very famous college, Women's College of India, central part in Maurice Nagar, that is called, we call North Campus. So after lunch I came and we had provided by research scholar easy chairs, so we used to sit and meditate on that. So that particular day I sit and I started sitting and feeling quietness of mind. Suddenly my attraction, my concentration went to the heart, in the heart center. So I don't know what is happening with that. It was a sort of fun, and I was not knowing that it will take to a spiritual life or anything else, since it was a hobby. I used to feel quietness of mind. I used to feel more creative when I used to do such things. So I went and tried to concentrate on my heart. Then I got frightened that I may go out of my body or something will happen, that I was going from secure to insecure, so I withdraw myself. But second time again it happened. So I said it was so thrilling and exciting, then I left it. I thought let it be whatever happens. So then I got this one experience, and I think it was only one very strong experience, that I could see the oneness of the transcendental, what we call universal, and what we call individual. After that, I became normal, and after a few days I forget all this experience, what had happened. Again, worldly life. Same year, after a few months, just in opposite of my room, there was my friend. We normally used to go in winter for tea and coffee to his room. He was from Odisha, he was doing MPhil in chemistry. So I went there in the morning, I peeped in his room, and he was putting agarbatti to the one photograph on his table, and he was putting agarbatti. I asked him, to whom you are showing this agarbatti incense stick? He asked me to guess. Then I said, maybe that time name was popular, Nirmala Devi or Amritanand Devi, whatever I said. They say, you don't know the mother? I said, oh, who is the mother? Then he asked me to sit down. That Antarjami Sarangi from Odisha, he asked me to sit down, and he started explaining about who is the mother, who is Sri Aurobindo, what is yoga. At least half an hour I heard him very patiently, and at that time I was feeling I am looking for that. Whatever he says, mind to supermind, over mental consciousness, all that little bit he briefed me, and I felt that I am looking for that. Then out of my curiosity, he introduced me to Dr. Kireet Joshi. He was in those days perhaps chairman of the Vedic Sansthan. It was in ITO Delhi, near ITO Delhi, ITO bus stand near Delhi. So he took me there. He had an interview with a cameraman, so we were talking, but he asked me to wait. And then he explained all that. Whatever he was saying, I think it was so much intriguing in me that I had a call for my professor in Bangkok, in Delhi University, and I was thinking what I do. I was feeling that I don't know what I have to do. Then he asked me to come his house, that Pritampura I used to live in Trans Jamna. 1 week, it was a summer time, I went continuously, and the whole of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo yoga, he explained me. And very patiently I used to ask. I had no question to ask him, but he explained all that. After that, the same my friend, he introduced me Delhi Ashram, Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch. He said, come, I will take you there. Then I went there 2-3 days. Then I felt that I should stay there in Delhi Ashram for some time. It was 1983. So one morning when I was walking in the Delhi University campus, there is a Reese garden. One book I was having on Vivekanand. So one of the professor, I can say now, he was just crossing that, and he was watching me for many days that I used to come even in winter and sit there and read something. And he was also a spiritual seeker, in fact, very much in depth spiritual seeker. And he asked me, what are you doing? So I said, I am doing this research. Where are you staying? Then he said, why don't you come and meet me in my office? Then I said, sir, I am Vice Chancellor R.N. Malhotra, Vice Chancellor of the Delhi University. I said, okay, sir, I will meet you tomorrow. But why I have to meet you? He said, I will give you a recommendation letter. When I said I am doing Ph.D., I will give you a recommendation letter. Wherever you want to go, you can have my letter. You will get all facility done. So, okay. The next day, I went and met him in his administrative building. So then I thought, where I have to show this letter first? So I went to Delhi branch. I came to know that Tara is very strict in keeping people there. So I showed my Vice Chancellor letter. I said, Tara, I have to stay here. I am already coming here. So I want to stay for a week for my research work. Then she says, okay, but how much you will pay every day? I'm just telling you all that, because she was very strict in that. So I said, it is written that it is for free, but why you are asking money? He said, no, at least minimum you have to say something. You have to write something, my application. She says, okay, 15 rupees per day I will pay. I was a research scholar also. So, and I thought she will agree. So she agreed. Then I started my thesis and all that there, sitting for a week or two. There, one day I was going to the relic center. There is in Canopy, there is a relic center there. So I was waiting to go, a lotus shape. So I wanted to go there, and then I saw someone is there. So I was waiting that when he will come back, I will go. So when he came back and he started patting on my shoulder, how are you? And then I said, I am in the university, but what are you doing here? I was quite young, of 25 and 6 years. He said, what are you doing here in the ashram? So I said, I have come about this my research work. I have some interest. I did not disclose, I never disclosed my interest, deeper interest, because people think, and people ask me, have you run away from the house? So I had always reservation not to explain my in-depth interest in that. So just brief that I like this, I am doing Ph.D. And he took me up to the car, and then he gave me his visiting card and he said in a few days after it was Deepavali day, so he called me, you come to visit my house, this is card, and it was the card of Dr. Karan Singh. So he said, okay, I heard your name. So you come on Deepavali day, we will meet. So that year, Deepavali day I went, I think 2-3 years in Deepavali days I went to see him. We had a long discussion. Before me, I saw there was a Tibetan monk. We are talking to him, some spiritual gurus talking to him on Deepavali day. He also called me, come. And he took me in 2-3 rooms. Maybe hours he talked with me. All that was my college days and hobby of searching a job, so I was busy all the days for that. So then in 1991, when he visited here, first time perhaps he became chairman of Auroville Foundation, and he wrote me a letter that when I was walking in Auroville and Matri Mandir, I felt divine consciousness is penetrating through the earth atmosphere. I remember he wrote me like that. I hope it will be interesting for you. I said, oh, I have to try this. Why he's writing me like this? And before that, when last meeting and all that, I explained myself that after this going to the Tara Ashram, I mean New Delhi branch, next letter my Bhai Chancellor R.N. Mahatotra gave me for visiting different monastery in Thailand. So I went Bangkok University, I went Bangkok, and Bangkok there was some university, there was one Vijayalankar University. To that Vice Chancellor, I gave me my Vice Chancellor a letter, R.N. Mahatotra. He accommodated me there. And he asked me to teach also in postgraduate student in Mahachala, that Vijayalankar University. It was the center of the Bangkok. It is near Sanam Luang area. Very big open space there. So I was teaching all that I had shared to Dr. Karan Singh about this my experience. So it was more exciting for me about that what I am doing. So he asked me that come and visit there in 1991. And that time from Bombay, I had got a job as a university professor. So it was perhaps 11th August 1992 that I was going to Mumbai for joining this job. So when I went to Lucknow, I had to go to Lucknow and visit one of my friend, and he knew that I had gone already in 1984 to Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and I liked visiting there. I am involved with Mother and Sri Aurobindo Yoga. My friend felt like that. Then he said, why don't you go first to Pondicherry? And then you have time, you can join next month. It was 11th August. So I don't know how I will reach by 15th August to that Sunday. So there was a train from Lucknow to Chennai, a special train. So I called that, I came that, and perhaps 14th night I came here in 1992. And when I was here, then it was a whole August I left. I stayed there in the ashram. That was the particular day I was talking about. That after lunch from the dining hall, I was just walking around Society beach office, not beach side, but the opposite side on the road. So I saw the one bus standing, and one of my friend, Mahendra, in fact, I met him in Delhi Ashram when he was doing Ph.D. from Pune University. So there we picked up friendship. So when he saw me walking there, he said, where are you going? I said, I have just come after lunch and just, I don't know, I used to go to sometime library also. So he said, come, I have 101 coconut and we have to offer to Ganesha. Which Ganesha, where Ganesha? Then he said, there is a Ganesh temple in Auroville on old bypass. The bus is going, and Mother Ilya, he used to call Ilya as a Mother Ilya. So Mother Ilya is also going. So I said, okay, I went into this bus. 1992, 31st August was the Ganesh Puja day. So that day I came here and lot of bhajan and kirtan was going on there. So Ilya introduced me, Bhaga, Judith and many others. But Judith invited me, why don't you come to Auroville? So when? He said, why don't tomorrow? So I said, okay, I will try. So when I thought how to go and stay in Auroville, then Madan Lal, perhaps Madan Lal Himmat Singh ka, perhaps I met him somewhere on the way. So I asked that, how can I stay in Auroville? Then he said, oh, there is a guest house in Bharat Nivas, a student guest house. So I tried and it worked. So on 1st September 1992, I came here in Bharat Nivas, that a student guest house. And I was just walking here and there, here and there. At those moments of life, I had a sort of a strong feeling like that sometimes people write, spiritual teachers, like a dry leaf carried away by wind. So I thought if I have to become Aurovillian, I will become Aurovillian. Why I have to search anyone? So 1 week I passed like that. So one day when I was in Sire building, just walking around seeing the offices, so those days financial service, Sire, all were in Bharat Nivas building in 1992. So when I was just walking around, I saw Judith surrounded with some people on her table. So as soon as she saw me, she rose from the chair, oh, you are here, yeah, come, I will introduce you. So he took me to Bharat Nivas, there is an interview group, to Banita was there, so introduced. After I said, we will see later after whatever happens. So that life followed like that. And then I remember it was a very important day. I used to go inner chamber whenever I came here and I was staying here. Perhaps inner chamber was inaugurated in 1991 and I came here in 1992. I was very much fond of going to inner chamber. So one day I thought, Vanita was there on the gate. Normally we were guests, supposed to be, I was a guest, so normally we are not allowed to go to inner chamber. But that day, particular day, Vanita was there on the gate. So I asked Vanita, I am here and I am got introduced to you. Can you allow me to go to inner chamber? Yes, yes, go, you go. So I went to inner chamber. I had a Pondicherry Ashram, the shoulder bag with me. And there was one, perhaps Mahendra had given me, pocket edition of Savitri. So that was what I went inner chamber, and when I was coming back, I sat down under banyan tree, and I was just thinking what to do now. So I was keeping there, so suddenly my hand went to the bag, and I saw the book and opened the book. I started reading Savitri. Then it came to me that I have to read loudly. That is not in my habit and nature. Till now also don't read loudly. But it was coming so strong that I could not resist it. So I started reading loudly. I was conscious that this banyan tree is a silent zone. I should not read loudly, but I could not resist, so particular day that had a future meaning, so that was a particular day I did this. So just around that was in Matri Mandir, Lakshmi Narayan was working. His hut was just nearby. So he heard me reading and with a strong, loud voice, so why don't we sit here in every Sunday here under Matri Mandir? I said, if you want, you can sit. Just like it came. So on Sundays we have started sitting under banyan tree. Perhaps you must have one photograph in Savitri Bhavan website, and many places you are having under banyan tree. We were 5-6 people were reading. Myself, Mahendra was there, Lakshmi Narayan was there. It is photographed. I don't know who photographed it. It went big there like that. When it rains, then we goes to nearby Lakshmi Narayan hut and read there. No idea, just it was a sort of hobby. So then that time Suresh Day came as a secretary of Auroville Foundation. Suresh Day joined as a secretary of Auroville Foundation. I had met him ashram before when he was posted in Odisha through one Babaji was there from Odisha, perhaps he introduced me that he's like this. So little bit introduction were there. So perhaps he wanted, and he knew that someone is reading in under banyan tree, and perhaps he felt I am leading that. So he called me at my house on landline. So I said, why he's calling me? So can you come and why not we read together with more Aurovillians in CIC building in Bharat Niwas? I said, sir, this is very good idea, why not? So from there we shifted every 10 to 12:30 or 10:30 to 12 in CIC. Sometimes CIC building, sometimes Laboratory of Evolution building. But at 10 o'clock, Sundaram, that was the building in charge, he normally forget to open the building. So we had to run for him. And moreover, in 2-3 months' time, the people were so much in Aurovillians were there, but the room was so small. People used to stand outside. I mean, under the wall, standing around. So crowded, it was so crowded, Laboratory of Evolution and that place. So we felt we must have a place. Then Malika was those with me. Malika was those with me in that movement that I call nowadays movement of Savitri Bhavan that came from my loud voice. Lakshmi, another one sharing with me. And those days I was having my breakfast, lunch and dinner in Matri Mandir itself. There was a very old refrigerator here. There they sold paradha. I saw in the news, I was so sad, but it was their refrigerator and we used to have that. So I had already feeling about that of Matri Mandir. And when from there it came to search for the land for Savitri, a study circle, it was named Savitri, a study circle. So there Suresh, they say, no, now it will be Savitri Bhavan. He gave the name Bhavan. Bhavan means where the God and goddesses live. I said, sir, I agree with you. Then I started searching because there was also some request or demand from Aurovillians due to some reasons that the large number of people were Aurovillians were gathering around Secretary of Auroville Foundation, you can say. So there was some reason behind, and reading interest also. So there are so many people, and then we started searching. Then Suresh Dev managed to get this land. Then I marked this land. Then Sadhaman and Helmut, all letters, they joined, and this place started happening. And this has come up to now, this place. And I am taking some classes from the very beginning, like from the first building, reading room that we call Cultivating Concentration, Yoga and the Evolution of Man. Such type of classes I started taking. So in course of my journey from Ashram to Auroville and connected to Delhi, Aurobindo branch, Delhi, I remember when I used to sing long hours in Ashram meditation hall, Tara used to come and whisper me, your hair will go grey. Last time I met her, I reminded her that I am no more like that. I am not sitting so long, I am in Auroville now. So there was a habit that long hours and long minutes I can sit like that for nothing, can say. So then this place started, I got involved in this and doing all type of things. Here, in fact, now, in 1983, when my friend asked me, introduced me, Mother and Aurobindo, then that experience of my particular day in my hostel room, I forget completely. But suddenly when I came here in 1991, 92, all my experience came back to memory as it was that day. So then I started reflecting, and whenever I read Mother and Aurobindo book, that it is not, Aurobindo is not a teaching, it is not a revelation, it is a direct action. So I said, oh, it is really a direct action. I was not involved as a professor or a teacher, I was not reading a book. It was certainly a direct action that, like a bird in the hands of a hunter, I tried my do for worldly life. I to do my best settled job, go to having life in material world, but I was not allowed. I was forced to have this life. And then whenever I started reading about his ascending and descending, then I understood that what he means by his own experience of writing, and that is why he said, and for Auroville he said, the first necessity is inner discovery. The first necessity is inner discovery, he says, because first is needed inner discovery, because in ascending, at the end of the ascending, at the peak of the ascending, there we meet the transcendental. That he called involution. Any one of us, involution is there. So at the end, for the human being, at the end, one has to get connected. Then only descending is possible. Otherwise, to whom you will descend? You will ascend to the nature and descend to the nature. No, he is saying that you ascend, you climb out to some else consciousness that he is calling soul, psychic, Paramatma, or that he is calling involution, out of what this world has been created, and he is present everywhere in omnipresent. So this sort of involution or evolution, when it started coming, ascending and descending, later that came across a lot of literature to me and of the mother and Aurobindo, what they were saying. And when I read this in Savitri, that Satyavan must die, there is a place he writes Satyavan must die. Then I was thinking that what is the purpose? Why? First he wrote Savitri as a symbol and a legend. And then he writes, it is, I mean, of course, even Satyavan must die, means he was meaning a soul descended in falsehood and ignorance. That must die. So I felt in that context, and in that context of Auroville, mother always gave emphasis of inner journey. She says always, divine in presence, divine is present in our heart, waiting to be discovered. So all the time, unless we don't have to discover our own self, we can say, if you don't involve God or anyone or divine, we can say, unless we don't find our true self, we cannot talk of transformation at all. Because transformation needs more than one thing. One thing cannot transform. For transforming something, you need another thing to transform. One is get transformed, one is transformer. So the lower nature or the Prakriti must find, our mind, our vital, our physical, must find something other than this that he is calling involution, that is called divine. Find that, and that will transform this. Not nature will transform to nature, but Purusha will transform this nature. That is why also in Savitri, in Finding of the Soul, Book 7, Canto 5, he says, he pitched the tent in the desert land. When he says he pitched the tent in the desert land, he is meaning the same person, same human being. When he crossed the limit of the nature, that is called, he got liberated, he attained to the Purusha, that is the size of a thumb is sitting in our heart. That is also, he is saying in the same Finding of the Soul canto, that it is the size of a thumb sitting in each one of us, and that is a secret cave, secret case we have to go through. So unless we don't reach that, unless we don't find that existence is in us and within us, the transformation of our lower nature is not possible. Or if we transform it, it is a just transformation of our nature, lower nature by higher nature. That lower nature by higher nature means that same impermanent, same law of dependent origination, the same immortal. It will not go that our Upanishadic cry was there, asato ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityu ma amritam gamya. That untruth, darkness and mortal, we know here we are identified. We don't know what is light, we don't know what is truth, we don't know what is light, we don't know what is immortality. But those who experience this all other side, they say that we have capacity, it is imbibed on us to uplift ourselves from asat to sat, tamas to jyoti, and from mortal to immortal. So and since we are living in this side, asat side, darkness side, and mortality side, since we have no experience of that, we have taken this as a ignorance, as a bliss. We have taken this is all, there is nothing else. But if we encounter that, then only what I am and what I should be. Here, the question Sri Aurobindo is explaining from his own yogic experience, that in one statement is very powerful. Normally I say in my classes, to explain all of his yoga is that he says, animal was a laboratory in which man was worked out. Animal was a laboratory in which man was worked out. Man, by his conscious effort and cooperation, nature wills to work out Superman, or shall we say to manifest God. Now he is saying last, shall we say to manifest God? It means not manifestation of nature in nature, manifestation of God which is other than nature. That should come. Then only mind can climb to some another horizon that is called supermind. Other places he writes, there is a being beyond being of mind. He is pointing that the mind is not the last. And in our system of human nature, as an individual, as a universal, as a transcendental, it is imbibed in us, it is with us. Without that, we don't exist. We don't exist without that. That is why in all yoga science, even Sri Aurobindo and Mother Yoga is more strong about this. They say ahamkar, we say I. In Sanskrit word, that is why it is called words or the language of the Devas, because it has come directly. The truth translated, transformed for expression directly in Sanskrit. It is very having consciousness ridden language. So that language says, in English and all that, we are not able to understand exact meaning. That she says, here I am referring to what is divine consciousness. Auroville is a very much, now we are talking about willing servitor of the divine consciousness. But we are confused. Are we willing of servitor of the ego consciousness or divine consciousness? What is the difference? How can we know we are servitor of ego consciousness or we are servitor of the divine consciousness? Unless we don't know divine, how can we say I am willing to the divine consciousness? So, how come I know and why I do not know? So, the word Sanskrit is a very beautiful word. It is called aham, that make construction of I. In Sanskrit, it is a tvam, you. It is vayam, we. I, you and we. This is a mode of nature. This created I, this is cut off from the infinite, cut off from the source that is talking about involution, that is talking about divine consciousness. So divine consciousness is blinded in our ego consciousness. We are not open to that. Since we are not open to that, we can give any name of our ego consciousness. That is why even Mother has written in detail that vital desires, name and fame, position, we should keep away from that, because it will stop you from going towards mind to supermind or from mental consciousness to divine consciousness. And when divine consciousness, when you are willing servitor to the divine consciousness, there is everywhere in all of the literature, most of the literature, they have said, Mother also, Sri Aurobindo also, they explain what will be the nature if we open our horizon from the ego consciousness to the divine consciousness. He says, you will be quiet. You will spread yourself quiet everywhere, wherever you will go. You will know, you will don't have any complaints, because when you are in divine consciousness, you are unified with two opposites. There he says all contraries create harmony. So where is the problem? Where I say I am right and you are wrong. If I am saying I am right, you are wrong, it means we are out of the divine consciousness. We are not the willing servitor of the divine consciousness. This is what I have understood, is my personal understanding of that. And then we go name and form, the worldly way it goes. The worldly way, that I said, the last word, how, since we do not know the concept, that is why people say it is easy to find wealth, money, but difficult to find to God. Or people say it is difficult to find God than to find money. Or find money, difficult to find God. Because we human beings are only busy with the material. And material world, material universe is a form, it is just a densified form. In fact, perhaps you recently might have read the poem Who, where Sri Aurobindo writes, it is he who is in the sun ageless and deathless. It is he who is in the sun ageless and deathless. Even he talks the source of the sun. This sun, S-U-N, sun we have, it has an age. It is not deathless, because one day it will dissolve, it will be withdrawn to a consciousness, what we call transcendental, the source consciousness, abhyakt consciousness. It will be, but he is saying, but he is present there, immortal. It means he is everywhere, omnipresent and omniscient every way. Even to us, what we call devotees or follower of the Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they always guided us that we have to look our immediate goal in sadhana, we have to progress in sadhana. We don't have to see what result it will become and then I will become big man. We don't have to see that. This is very natural consequences. If you are getting to somewhere, if you are really imbibed with that, if you are connected individual with the omnipotent or the omniscient or omnipotent potent, it is automatic in your system that will create greatness in you, but you don't watch every day whether I am becoming great or not. I am going inner chamber every day. I am going to samadhi every day. How is my length of a scale of my progress? We don't have to see that. What we have to see, that the immediate effort, what we have to do that, we have to concentrate on that. The other sense, in fact, in Sri Aurobindo's Yoga and the Mother, that is most important, even for Auroville, she says, before coming to Auroville, one must discover their soul, their psychic. Because this is the preparatory thing that has to manifest. But we are here trying to go to find it also, and we are trying to manifest it also. We are not ready for that. In one verse, I think it is very much popular, that I am taking classes of the commentary of the Dhammapad by the Mother. It was in French, translated in English. There is one Yamak Bagga where my Mother writes that what our ego is and how our ego becomes all-embracing ego, all-embracing individual, which is widen itself up the widest and still include I-ness, but that I-ness is not my I-ness. It is the divine I-ness or truth I-ness. There she says how to behave in this life. In Yamak Bhaggu, there is a verse, very detailed he explains, that is in Pali verse, that is in Pali, it is written, and it says, Nahi beren berani sambandhati kadachana. It is in Pali. Nahi beren berani sambandhati kadachana aberena hi siddhanti eso dhammo sanantu. He says enmity is not worked out, enmity is not dissolved by greater enmity. Enmity is removed by only love and compassion, and this is law eternal. This is the law eternal, he says. So in his yoga, we should not confuse of somehow like Krishna that Arjuna is calling and you have to fight a battle. That is why in parable of Avatar, Sri Aurobindo writes, in last birth, Buddha went into the negation. And as a quality, he will have positive life. So in one way, we are confused. Even we all are confused. I was also very much confused until we did not know Mother and Sri Aurobindo and their enlightened yoga. I was also wondering in our traditional yoga, and most of us, because what it was ready with us, we found it, we worked out. But when new thing is coming up, we are working for that. And we must go out that, and at the very beginning I said, we are just the instrument. When we look back, no one of us can choose our life, so-called divine life. We can't choose because we are human being, egoistic man. We can choose that. And moreover, that thing we have no idea. We have no administrative officer, we can politician, we can choose, make our goal like that. But the thing we don't know, what is divine or what is divine consciousness, how can we choose that? So that is why he says that those who are us, those who have chosen that life, we have been already chosen. But this is revealed to us in a very later stage of our advance, when we see when we are somewhere standing in the divine consciousness and brightened by that. In the another verse is also saying that explain our day-to-day life, that spiritual seeker we claim. In the same Dhammapada, he says, how we have to behave in the life or society. He is saying there is another verse in Pali. He is saying that Yatha pufang banang gandhakam ahetikam paleti rasamadaye yatha game munichari. As the bee sucks the flower but does not damage its color, its fragrance, its beauty, and out of that he stores the honey. In the same way, the wise man should walk in the universe. This is what the mother translated about in Dhammapada. Yatha game munichari. In this world, we have to, and in fact, those people who are willing servitor of the divine consciousness, they are aspirant of the divine consciousness. Their nature becomes from very beginning like that, because it is not a one-day event. It is all destined. It is all set in the system of a person, and that has to grow one day. So living in Auroville for last, 30 years, I am very quiet, I am very humble. I have no idea of anything what is happening. And even if I try to tell something, hardly our words catches people, because that is why perhaps I can say it is my understanding. It is my understanding that Mother also writes that the adventure of consciousness, or for the adventure of the consciousness, even someone is in jail, someone is on mountain, someone is in an isolated place, outside world had nothing to do for that. It is adventure, it is a development, it is progress in ourselves, in our consciousness. If we remember our yogis, munis, they were in the mountains and it was the cave and his body. It was the cave and his body. no power position, no outer influence, no administration, no politician. But there they got enlightenment. Buddha got enlightenment under a Bodhi tree in open space. There was no king, no one came to help him. He was even starving. He was begging for food. Even his mother, even his children, even most of the great men is like that. So if our goal, our intention, our one-pointed attraction has become something to climb, that they say, if it is in our being to go from mind to something else, if something is there, and we have to believe that mind brings property. Maybe beyond going mind, what will bring, we don't know. It may bring the whole property of the whole earth. That is why it was called spiritual life, a king without crown, samrat. But we have no understanding, we have no experience, and we are running in the darkness, and at the same time we are not accepting our ignorance. That is another problem with us human beings, that what we are, what we think, this is all. That is why Mother says, if you enter into the divine consciousness, or if divine is with you, you will be humble, you will be plastic, you will be flexible, you will be transparent. All that quality will come to you automatic. You don't have to announce. So these are the words, I think, enough I have told myself. Hardly I am very much involved in Auroville activities, although in duty Director Kireet Joshi, or sometime I had worked in Auroville at many places, not only one. In council I was there. Those days it was executive council. Then I was in CC, then I was in Seva, also labor work. There I was also village action group. There were also in New Creation. When I came, I was teaching English there. So I founded also the night watchman also in Institute. We were patrolling ourselves, Aurovillians. So I worked in many places, but this place that it came to me, and I remember the particular day when I was shouting, and when I look back, oh, that was the day a movement of Savitri has been created. And when Niroj Baran came and he said on the inauguration of the first building, he said, Matri Mandir and Savitri Bhavan are twins. Then it went to my ear direct. I said, oh. There was the connection. It was that there she is silent, majestic. Here she shares with us. Here we help each other through our activities. So I think this morning I have taken you a lot of time. It is 11:20. I can talk long if we are involved in such things. And since it is my habit to having classes, so nice. But I know my people, my friends are very high important officials. When I meet them, of course they think I am very small baby with them. But when I stay longer with them, I smile, I laugh, I say, oh my God, what you got? Whole life we are in trouble. So there we are happy, at least something we have got to be happy in all circumstances by gift of this Auroville and the Ashram and the Mother and Aurobindo. Thank you, dear. 11:23 now.
Thank you for your enlightenment.
I got a ice to say something.
Have a moment of silence.
Yeah, please.